Hi guys, I'm Nate from Recap Now. Today, I'm going to recap a 2015 mystery thriller movie called Curve. When a young woman's car breaks down in a remote location, Hitchhiker fixes her car in exchange for a ride to the nearest town. However, unknown to her, her passenger harbors sinister motives. The film begins in a desolate setting, with a woman named Mallory driving her car. She is about to get married in a week. Therefore, she is leaving the city to prepare for the big day at her sister's house. The girl doesn't appear particularly happy about being married because she can't believe she'll be married in a week. On the drive there, she video chats with her sister Ella. Ella tells her that she hasn't purchased her plane tickets yet because she wants to ensure Mallory is truly in love and satisfied with her decision. Mallory responds in a phony voice that she is joyful and hangs up. It is unclear why she feels this way. As she drives along a remote road, immersed in concentration, she turns onto a service road from the main road. The girl enters the service lane intending to take a shortcut to her destination, which happens to be Denver. However, she is stopped in her tracks when her car breaks down along the route. She then tries, unsuccessfully, to start the engine. Mallory is now alone in a completely remote place, and there are no signals, so she cannot phone for assistance. When she attempts to open a Coke can, it explodes, soaking her clothes. She then proceeds to change her clothing in the rear of the car, just as she gets startled by someone. There is a man named Christian. The man asks her what's wrong, and he feels awful for the stranded girl and instantly begins repairing her automobile. Fortunately for Mallory, the man understands what he's doing and successfully resolves the issue. Mallory then expresses her gratitude, and she is on her way. You must be thinking that she should have given the man a ride. This is exactly what Mallory thinks. As she drives forward, she realizes that the man is on foot and that he helped her fix her car, so the least she could do is offer him a ride. She invites him to join her, and as the two drive, we see that Christian is unfamiliar with the concept of shutting up. He starts chatting and does his best to impress Mallory as he attempts to hype himself up. At this time, he begins to act strangely. He discusses how fate brought them together and how it was supposed to be this way. Not long after, we see that this guy is a complete perv as he begins to say improper things to her. Mallory has had enough of his nonsense and stops the car, asking the child to get out. Christian, on the other hand, is not the type to be docile. He never got into the car expecting to go so simply. Mallory has no choice but to continue driving, and as she considers how to save her life and get rid of the perv, she observes that Christian is not wearing his seatbelt. She then accelerates as fast as she can before driving down a guardrail along a curve. The car crashes, and the next thing we see is Mallory hanging upside down inside it. When she tries to get out, her foot becomes stuck in the seat, preventing her from moving. Because Christian was not wearing a seatbelt, he fell out of the automobile, unconscious. He is injured, but not as badly as Mallory, and the man is actually in much better shape than she is. This is obvious when the man wakes up, approaches Mallory, and finds that one of her legs is stuck. He then advises her to get out of there before abandoning the unfortunate girl hanging upside down in her car to die. Mallory has no choice but to scream for aid, and we notice that a river is nearby. The night falls, but no one is there to help her, and she has been in this position for quite some time. As the night grows darker, the temperature drops, and her condition worsens. Mallory looks about her car and finds some of her clothes, which she manages to put on. Fortunately, the car's battery is still charged, so she turns on the warmth. The bad news is that cold isn't the only problem. She's caught in the midst of what appears to be a forest, and there are plenty of wild animals about. She instantly puts on the headlights of her car to scare them away, and it works. Miraculously, she makes it through the hard night. As the day begins to shine, Mallory is still stuck, and she is in serious peril since she has very little water and nothing to eat. The entire day passes, and no one comes to aid the unfortunate girl, who is still locked in her automobile and hanging upside down. The next morning, she is still there, looking about, but seeing no signs of optimism. Mallory is in a poor way right now, and to make matters worse, Christian appears, looking really joyful and healthy. Furthermore, He has a satisfied grin on his face and has no qualms about stating that he is enjoying every moment of Mallory's misery. He returns to torture her mentally while eating and drinking in front of her. The pervert then reminds her that fate is a strange thing. As Christian sits there, savoring her misery and agony, he informs her that he has discovered a cabin. It is currently empty, but he believes a family lives there, and the family is not home. Christian also realizes that Mallory will not be around for long because she may not survive another night. With that hope, he leaves while Mallory shouts and pleads for rescue. The third night arrives. It is dark outside, and Mallory, to her good fortune, discovers a lighter in her car. She lights it to provide light and potentially heat on a cold night. Mallory then falls asleep for a short while before being awakened up by a family of rats who appear to enjoy playing with her body. Mallory is now tired of everything and becomes angry. This is the call of the hour for her, as she goes on to murder a rat. After some contemplation, the rodent's arrival does not turn out to be a negative thing for her because she at least gets to eat. The next morning, Mallory awakens when her phone calls. This is the finest thing that could have occurred to her in her current situation, and the only word that comes to me is hope. However, before she can proceed with any phone calls, Christian reappears, and Mallory quickly hides her phone. Christian begins to tell her about the cabin again, and how the family who lives there has returned. He then reveals that he has them tied up in their own cabin and tells her that she does not need to be terrified of him because he is now going to assist her get free. When Christian discovers that she has been keeping her cell phone from him, the first thing he does is yank it away. He then proceeds to give her a saw. At first, Mallory informs him that she can't use the saw to cut through the door, and Christian agrees. However, he doesn't expect it to, because he just gave her the saw so she could cut her foot and liberate herself. He adds that this is her only option, and if she does not act quickly, she may die here. He then leaves her alone. Mallory now has the saw in her hands, and she considers what Christian instructed her to do, but she ends up shouting in frustration. When night falls, Mallory becomes thirsty because it has been a long time since she has been without water. God may have responded to her pleadings when it began to pour. The rain is heavy, and she will not die of thirst. When she switches on the radio, she discovers that the roads are flooding due to the precipitation, and people are taking to the smaller roads because the main roads are inundated. Shortly later, a car pulls up beside her, much to her dismay. It turns out to be her nightmare, Christian. As he pulls over, Mallory devises a strategy in which she places the blood of the deceased rat on her foot and appears to be dead. She makes it appear as if she died while attempting to chop her foot off. Christian approaches too close to check in with his flashlight. Mallory succeeds in stabbing him, stealing his car keys, and instantly locking it. She then throws the keys away in the dark of night, when he is unlikely to discover them. Now, her goal is that someone will pass by and observe his automobile stopping there. Not long after, a car approaches, which turns out to be a police vehicle. When the officer gets out of the car, Mallory screams to catch his attention. Mallory's voice is drowned out by the thunderstorm. Christian, on the other hand, continues to pretend to be an innocent man who was injured in the storm and begs the officer to drive him to a nearby cabin. Mallory yells, but no one hears her anymore. She now realizes that if she doesn't get out of there fast enough, she won't make it, and she starts thinking about what Christian said. As she struggles to muster the strength to proceed, she decides enough is enough and begins attempting to hack her leg off, but only manages a few superficial slashes before her car begins to move owing to the flood. As the automobile begins to tumble, the door to her car opens, and she escapes. She now requires immediate medical attention, as well as evacuation from that location. As Mallory approaches the river, she begins to walk away from it. She comes across a shack by the river and hears someone crying inside. This motivates her to walk fast towards the home, just as the stick she is holding activates a bear trap put on the ground. At this point, she starts thinking about the cabin that Christian told her about. Mallory realizes Christian must be inside, so she begins to go around the property. Mallory witnesses. Christian killed the police officer who previously assisted him and holds their daughter, Katie, hostage. When she silently enters the cottage, She discovers that Christian has also slain the homeowners, so she snatches the police officer's revolver. Mallory sneaks in and attempts to let the girl free, while Christian tries on the police outfit, possibly for his next nefarious plan. Mallory quickly hides when she hears Christian's footsteps coming. She then picks up the police officer's rifle. Mallory raises the gun at him and threatens to shoot him if he moves. Christian proceeds to attack Mallory, while Mallory tells Katie to flee. She battles with Christian and eventually manages to escape. When Christian enters the room to look for her, Mallory is no longer present. Mallory eventually beats him by pushing him off a second-floor balcony. He stumbles and crushes his leg in a bear trap. Mallory then limps downstairs with Katie, handing him his knife. She then tells him that she is going to give him the same chance that he offered her. When they discuss fate, Mallory informs Christian that he is correct, and that perhaps it was meant to be this way after they first met. Before the film concludes, Christian suffers from his wound while reflecting on what Mallory said. Mallory and Katie travel along the road in quest of aid. This is where the film finishes. Please do hit that like button if you enjoyed the recap. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell for more movie recaps. Stay tuned for our next cinematic adventure, and until then, happy watching.